There's a hole in my yard. It seems like such a silly thing to worry about, doesn't it? I mean, there's all sorts of reasons why there might be holes in your yard. Dogs. Mole. Neighborhood children. All very ordinary things, very common, nothing to fret over. Perfectly normal. I guess the problem, for me at least, is that the hole itself isn't perfectly normal. It's just, it doesn't really look like a hole, you know? One morning, a few days ago, I walked out of my house on my way to work and there it was. Or rather, it wasn't. The hole looks exactly like the patch of grass that used to be there. No blemishes, no markings, no visible sign at all that there's a hole in that spot, and yet I am certain there is one. It's like somewhere between the light reaching my eyes and my brain forming an interpretation of what I'm seeing, the information is just being planted in my mind. There is a hole, even if there isn't one. I've tried showing it to people. Even that first time I saw it, I flagged down my neighbor, Mrs. Elwood, who was out for a morning jog. I asked her if there was anything weird about my lawn, and when she said there wasn't, I even directed her to the exact spot where the hole was. But she couldn't perceive it. I don't know why, maybe it's just because it's my yard or whatever, but nobody else I've shown it to gets the same epiphany about the hole that I do. I'm the only one who can see it. I still went to work that morning. I mean, there's not really anything I could do about it, right? And it's not like the hole was bugging anyone. Anyone other than me, that is. So I went and managed to get through my workday, even with how distracted I was. I started to worry more when I got back. The thing is, I distinctly remembered how big the hole had been that morning. Only about the size of a golf ball. Nothing too concerning. Except that now it was about the size of a dinner plate. It was growing. I didn't end up sleeping very well that night. I tried everything. Deep breaths, drinking tea, even counting sheep. But I just couldn't stop thinking about that stupid hole. Eventually, at about 2 o'clock in the morning, I decided that I might as well stop trying. So I spent the rest of the night looking out my front window, watching the hole grow little by little. By 8 o'clock, it was the size of a dartboard. I did end up calling out of work this time. I hadn't slept a wink, and as I was staring at the hole that morning, I had the misfortune of seeing a squirrel fall into it. It was incredibly surreal. 1 second, the creature was scampering across the lawn, and the next it wasn't. It was just gone. Poof. Into thin air. The revelation that things could enter the hole was particularly troubling. I mean, that's a huge safety hazard, isn't it? Even forgetting the absolute headache this was going to be if I ever needed to do some gardening, what about all the innocent people and animals who couldn't see the thing? My street has a bunch of stray cats, and it wasn't unheard of for kids to stray onto neighbors' lawns either. I couldn't just let them fall prey to the hole. But at the same time, what could I do? Set up cones? I'd look like a madman, blocking off what was, to the casual observer, a completely ordinary patch of yard. Who does that? I spent most of the day alternating between pacing around the house, trying to puzzle out a solution to the ever-growing problem, and sitting in front of the window, watching the hole swell to the size of a manhole cover, then a truck tire, then a dining room table. That evening, I decided that I wouldn't be able to solve anything if I didn't get some sleep. So I left my house for the first time that day, creeping gingerly down my driveway and staring at the hole, waiting for it to make any sudden moves. It didn't, and I could almost imagine it laughing at how stupid I looked, sneaking out to my own car and staring at an empty stretch of grass. I managed to get myself some melatonin gummies at my town's 24-hour pharmacy, and when I got home, the hole had, thankfully, remained approximately the same size. I crept back into my house, took a few gummies, and blissfully, felt my mind finally start to calm. As I snuggled into bed, I felt sleep come at last. My eyes drifted close, and my last thought before I fell completely unconscious was one of fresh resolve. That was yesterday. When I woke up this morning, that determination was still with me. I marched into the kitchen, made myself a cup of coffee, and strode bravely to the front door, ready to confront the problem once and for all. I flung it open, felt sunlight stream across my face, and immediately felt violently sick to my stomach. I slammed the door shut, locked it, and started running around my house like a crazy person, ensuring that all my doors and windows were locked and covered. I'm writing this now from my bedroom. It's 11:20 in the morning, and I've called out of work again. I don't know how long I can keep this up before I lose my job, but I do know that leaving my house is absolutely out of the question, at least for the time being. When I opened the door this morning, the hole had grown to the size of a small car. Concerning, to be sure, but not the cause of my immediate terror. See, I guess I was so preoccupied thinking about all the things that could fall into the hole that I didn't even consider that something might come out. But something did come out. Something crawled right out of that stupid hole and walked up my front steps. When I opened the door, it was right there, waiting for me. Or rather, it wasn't.